My name's Trevor. I'm 27, and for a little over a year, I worked overnight at a 24-hour pharmacy just off the interstate. Small town, one of those pharmacies that's mostly empty after 11 p.m. except for people picking up emergency prescriptions or buying cigarettes. I worked alone from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. There was a pharmacist on call, but he wasn't physically there. I ran the front register by myself. The store had 2 aisles of everything: snacks, cold medicine, a small photo counter, and a back stock room with a door that locked from the inside. It was a Tuesday in November when he first came in. Older guy, maybe late 50s, wearing a flannel jacket zipped all the way up even though it wasn't that cold. He bought a bottle of water and paid in exact change. Coins, counted out one by one on the counter. Took him almost 2 full minutes. I didn't think much of it. Some people are just careful with money. He came back the next night. Same time, almost to the minute. 11:47 p.m. Same water bottle. Same coins. This time he didn't leave right away. He stood by the magazine rack near the front window and just stood there. Not reading anything. Just facing the window, looking out at the parking lot. I asked if he needed help finding anything. He said no, without turning around. He left 20 minutes later. This went on for almost 2 weeks. Same time, same water bottle, same coins, same 20 minutes by the window. I started timing it without meaning to. My body just knew when 11:47 was coming. The night it changed, he came in and didn't buy anything. He walked straight to the register and asked me what time I got off. I told him 6 a.m. because lying felt weirder than answering. He nodded slowly and said, "Long time to be alone in here." I said something like, "Yeah, it's usually quiet." And he just looked at me. Not menacing exactly, just too long, the way you'd look at something you were trying to memorize. Then he asked if I was the only one who worked that shift. I told him I wasn't sure, which was another lie. I'd worked every night shift there for 8 months. He left without buying the water that night. First time he didn't. 2 nights later, I found out from the pharmacist that our stockroom's back door, the one that led out to the loading area behind the building, had been found unlocked at opening. Not broken. Unlocked. Nobody could explain it, and the manager just chalked it up to someone forgetting to check it during closing the day before. I hadn't forgotten. I always checked that door. I checked it every single night because the alley behind it wasn't lit and it made me nervous. The man never told me his name and I never saw him pay with anything but coins. He stopped coming in after that. No more 11:47, no more water bottle, no more 20 minutes at the window. I told myself that was a good thing. About a month later, I quit that job, mostly for unrelated reasons, better pay somewhere else. But on my last night, going through the register drawer at close, I found a small stack of coins someone had left, exact change for a water bottle, sitting on the counter after I'd already locked the front door. I was the only one in the building. I never figured out how they got there. Story 2, room service. I'm Marcus, 31, and I used to work the night audit shift at a mid-size hotel near the airport, the kind of place that's mostly business travelers and layover crews. 4 floors, about 120 rooms, decent occupancy most nights because of flight delays and red eyes. Night audit means I'm basically alone from midnight to 7 a.m., running reports, handling late check-ins, and covering the desk if anyone needs anything. It's a solitary job. I liked that about it. The incident started with a phone call. Around 1:30 a.m., the phone at the desk rang, and when I picked up, the caller ID showed it was coming from room 318. I answered normally. "Front desk, how can I help?" And there was nothing. No breathing, no static, just silence for maybe 10 seconds. Then it hung up. I checked the system. Room 318 was occupied, a single guest, checked in 2 days earlier. I figured it was a butt dial or a mistake and didn't think much of it. It happened again at 2:15. Same room, same silence. This time I said hello twice before it cut off. By the 3rd call, close to 3 a.m., I decided to actually walk up and check on the guest, partly out of concern, partly because 3 silent calls from the same room in 90 minutes felt like something. I took the elevator to the 3rd floor and knocked on 318. No answer. I knocked again, a little harder, and said it was the front desk doing a courtesy check. Still nothing. I could hear the TV running inside, low volume, some kind of static hum more than actual programming. I used my master key and opened the door a few inches, calling out first. Standard procedure, you never just walk in. The room was dark except for the TV glow. I could see the outline of someone sitting upright on the edge of the bed, facing away from me, toward the window. I asked if everything was okay. The person didn't move, didn't answer. I said it again, and this time they turned their head. Not their body, just their head, slow, and looked at me over their shoulder. I couldn't see the face clearly in the dark, just the shape of it, and they said, very quietly, "Wrong room." I apologized and backed out and closed the door. I stood in the hallway for a second, feeling like something was off but not able to name what. Back at the desk, I pulled up the guest info again. Male, single occupant, no notes on file. I decided to just leave it and chalked the calls up to a wrong number pattern or a drunk guest messing with buttons. At 4:40 a.m., the phone rang one more time. Room 318 again. This time when I picked up, there was breathing. Slow, deliberate, close to the receiver. And then a voice, the same quiet voice from the room, said, "You checked on the wrong one." I hung up immediately. My hands were shaking. I called the on-call manager, who told me to call the police if I felt unsafe. Standard hotel liability answer. I didn't call the police. I don't fully know why. I think some part of me was too scared to make it real. I checked the system one more time before dawn. Room 318 showed as checked out. Timestamp, 4:41 a.m., 1 minute after that phone call. Nobody used the elevator or walked past the front desk. There's only one way down from the third floor that doesn't pass the lobby. The east stairwell, which lets out into the back parking lot. No camera coverage back there at the time. Housekeeping found the room empty later that morning. Bed unmade, TV still on, tuned to a static channel that doesn't actually broadcast anything. No luggage, no personal items, nothing left behind except a paper coffee cup on the nightstand, still slightly warm when housekeeping touched it around 8 a.m., 4 hours after checkout. I never worked that section of the building alone again if I could help it. Story 3, the 24-hour diner. I'm Alex, I'm 25, and I worked the graveyard shift as a line cook at a diner that stayed open around the clock off a mostly empty highway. It wasn't glamorous. Mostly truckers, a handful of regulars, and the occasional group stumbling in after the bars closed. I worked with one server most nights, a girl named Priya, and an older guy who ran the register when he felt like showing up. This story starts on a slow Sunday, maybe 2 a.m., when a man came in and sat in the corner booth. The one furthest from the door, half in shadow because that light had been flickering for weeks and nobody fixed it. He ordered black coffee and nothing else. Didn't touch a menu. He came back the next few nights, always alone, always the same booth, always just coffee. Priya mentioned to me that he never tipped and never really talked. Just sat there refilling his own cup from the carafe she'd leave at the table, staring out the window at the empty parking lot for hours at a time. About the 5th night, I was on a smoke break out back near the dumpster. The only door back there leads to a narrow alley between our building and the closed auto shop next door. I saw him out there too, standing near the far end of the alley, not smoking, not doing anything, just standing in the dark facing our building, specifically facing the kitchen window, which was cracked open for ventilation, right above the grill where I worked every night. I went back inside and didn't say anything to Priya. I told myself it was a coincidence, that he probably just needed air like I did. The following week, I started noticing he'd shifted his coffee ritual. He'd come in around 2, but now he'd leave around 3:30, and every single night after he left, I'd find the kitchen window pushed open wider than I'd left it, even on nights I hadn't gone out back at all. I mentioned it to the register guy, who just shrugged and said probably the wind, even though there was a latch on that window and it didn't just swing open on its own. The night everything changed, Priya was closing out a table near the front and I was alone in the kitchen for maybe 10 minutes doing prep for the morning shift. I heard the back door, the one by the dumpster, the one that should have been locked, creak open. I called out assuming it was the register guy taking a break. No answer. I walked to the kitchen doorway and looked down the back hall toward the door. It was open, just a few inches, cold air coming through, and standing just outside it, close enough that the motion light had triggered, was the man from the corner booth. Not moving. Just standing there, looking directly at the open door like he was deciding whether to come the rest of the way in. I said something like, "Hey man, we're closing the back up," trying to sound normal. And he looked past me, into the kitchen, scanning it slowly like he was checking who else was around. Then, without a word, he stepped back out of the light and I heard footsteps moving away down the alley. I locked that door immediately and checked it 3 times. He never came back after that night. Not the next week. Not the month after. Priya said she was relieved. I wanted to feel the same way, but what stuck with me wasn't him leaving. It was realizing, weeks later, going back through the schedule in my head, that every single night he'd shown up was a night the register guy had called in sick, and it was just me and Priya alone in that building. I don't think that was a coincidence. I never figured out how he knew. Plus,